Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
This is everything for you, demon. It cost me a pretty penny to get it, but I was saving it for you, a drunken villager replied, pulling out 3 explosive tags. He threw them to the ground, and soon they caused a massive explosion. The last thing Naruto saw was a big white light, and then he didn't know anything else. Konoha Hospital. Many doctors and nurses were rushing to heal the villagers caught up in the explosion. The director of the hospital told the newspaper that the villagers affected by the radiation would be perfectly fine. When the Hokage asked about Naruto, the nurse who had tried to help him said that she had managed to heal all his wounds, but that she had not been able to prevent the damage to his eyes. He would be blind for life. The third Kage wanted to know what had happened. Apparently, the villagers claimed that the boy had attacked them and then fled laughing. They ran after him to teach him a lesson. When he was cornered in an alley, the demon smiled maliciously and began to glow with a red glow before the huge explosion. Unfortunately for the villagers, the third Kage didn't believe a word of his story. He sent them to Ibiki, where, after a few hours of torture, he admitted that the boy had done nothing wrong, except running away from them. Another village threw the explosive labels on the toxic waste, which caused the explosion. The third Kage entered Naruto's room, where he had a cloth covering his eyes. It pained the old man to see that a small child would never see the light of day again. 8 years later, Naruto was sleeping soundly in Iruka's classroom. Iruka used to yell at the other students, but since he was writing on the blackboard, Naruto didn't care. However, Naruto never got good grades or passed the weapons practices with solvency. Of course, when the time came, he passed the jutsu exam with an excellent grade. That was the only reason I was still at the academy. Well, who can explain the problem on the board? Uchi Sasuke. Ask Naruto, Sasuke replied. Ever since Naruto revealed his blindness, Sasuke would always tease him and ask the teachers to make him read the books or solve problems on the blackboard. Naruto was never amused and was looking for a fight with Sasuke. While many students were of the opinion that it was not okay for Sasuke to mess with Naruto, his fans believed the opposite, saying that it was Naruto's fault for not being able to read. Sasuke, you know I can't do that. Naruto is blind, so he can't read. You read it. Sasuke pouted before continuing to read. Naruto would have wanted to laugh, but instead he stayed quiet and listened. Iruka looked at Naruto and suddenly remembered when Naruto first entered his class. Flashback scene. A blonde boy came in blindfolded with a black cloth. He was wearing black clothes as usual. In his hand, he carried a wooden stick with which he struck the teacher's table. Iruka felt an eyebrow twitch when the boy banged on his desk, and he didn't even apologize. Don't be so angry, Iruka. This is your new student, Uzumaki Naruto. I think he will become a splendid shinobi, the third Kage replied with a smile. Okage-sama today. Iruka gasped loudly as the third Kage entered behind Naruto. Okage-sama, can I talk to you in private? Of course. Naruto walked up the stairs to the back of the classroom. However, Sasuke tripped him, causing Naruto to fall on his face against the steps. When he got up, he was bleeding over the eye. While Naruto was looking for his cane, Sasuke picked it up and threw it out the window. Almost everyone laughed. The only ones who didn't were Shino and Hinata. They both realized that Naruto was blind. Sasuke kicked Naruto several times. When Iruka and the Hokage returned, they saw Sasuke punch Naruto in the mouth. Iruka started yelling at Sasuke and told him that Naruto was blind, so he shouldn't mess with him. And Hinata, finally taking pity, took Naruto to his seat and sat him down next to her. End of the flashback. Iruka got lost in his own world, and the whole class was watching him. Excuse me, well done, Sasuke. Now, for the Genin exam tomorrow, it will be about clone jutsu. Give your best. Iruka replied as he dismissed the class. Naruto, as usual, was the last to leave. Iruka was worried about the boy. It was hard for him to admit it, but a blind child living alone was terrible. I was curious to know how he managed to survive. The only thing he knew for sure was that the Ambus always brought him food. Everything else was a mystery. Naruto's point of view. Naruto jumped from roof to roof observing his surroundings. No one was looking at him. That was good for him. He no longer had to play the poor blind man in front of everyone. Naruto landed on the window of his apartment and entered. It was the genie exam tomorrow, and he was wondering how he would do. Naruto barely touched a necklace on his dresser before he sighed. He wondered what it would be like to see again. However, I knew it was impossible. He had lost his sight a long time ago, and now he had regained his sight. Naruto went to bed still absorbed in his thoughts. Okay, Naruto, it's your turn. Naruto, who watched each of his companions perform the jutsus, judged them individually. The biggest threat came from Sasuke. Despite his antipathy towards the survivor Uchiha, it was clear that he posed a threat. Naruto came in and made the right stamps. In the end, a clone was left standing, just like him. You failed. Iruka shouted. Iruka, give Naruto a break. He created a clone. His control was not bad. I'm sure we can get over it. Mizuki, I'm afraid not. The minimum requirement is 3 clones. I can't get over it. Iruka, Naruto is blind. He did his best. Really, you can let it go. I'm sorry. Naruto may try again next year. Naruto walked away. However, he stopped at the door, listening to Mizuki's heartbeat. He was up to something, there was no doubt about that. Naruto downplayed the matter and left the room. Iruka was stunned to see that Naruto did not grope his way to the door, but simply walked out. He wondered if Naruto was as blind as many believed. Naruto was sitting on his favorite swing, with a somewhat disappointed countenance. I could hear all the kids laughing and getting compliments from their parents. Suddenly, Naruto felt a presence near him. Mrs. Mizuki, come with me, Naruto. Naruto got up and followed Mizuki. Mizuki led him to a balcony firm where he could watch the sunset. Iruka wasn't trying to be mean or hard on you, Naruto. Just try to make yourself strong. It doesn't seem that way, Naruto muttered. Iruka was just like you, an orphan who lived alone. Although he gets it, he doesn't try to make fun of you because of your disability. It certainly doesn't look like it. Well, what if I told you that there is another way to pass the Genin exam? We don't talk about it much, but I'm going to tell you about it. 5 minutes later, Naruto left Mizuki intrigued to find out what he was up to. To avoid problems, Naruto would follow Mizuki's suggestion, but at the same time, he would stay alert. Iruka, wake up, Iruka. Mizuki, what are you doing here at this hour? It's Naruto. Naruto has stolen the sacred sealing scroll. You mean the forbidden sealing scroll? The Hokage is gathering the ninjas. Come on. Hokage-sama, that scroll contains hundreds of jutsu and secrets of our village. If one of our enemies gets hold of him, it will be the end of the village, a high-ranking jounin shouted. The Hokage didn't want to believe it. It didn't seem possible that Naruto had stolen anything from the Hokage's vault. One moment, please. Think about who we're talking about. It's about Naruto, who, let's remember, is blind. I couldn't have entered the Hokage vault without help. Naruto is helpless without someone by his side. Besides, I couldn't tell where the Hokage vault was. Someone is cheating or using Naruto. I have to agree with Iruka. However, find Naruto and bring him here immediately. We must find out who told you about the desired scroll. He ordered the third one with a wave of the hand. Only smoke showed the place where the shinobi used to be. Iruka always ruins everything. But they will never find Naruto. As soon as I kill the demon fox, the sealing scroll will be mine, Mizuki thought with a wry smile. Forest. Naruto was lying on his back, panting. This kind of training almost exhausted him. Nevertheless, he was glad that he had done so. I had learned something very useful. Naruto? What are you doing here, Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked. Iruka looked surprised, but I guess it was his voice that gave him away. Naruto, what are you doing with the desired scroll? Who told you about him? Iruka asked. Mizuki? He told me everything, although I think he's up to something, and… Naruto couldn't finish his attack when shurikens appeared that almost reached both him and Iruka. Naruto, acting quickly, pushed Iruka away. Good reflexes, Mizuki commented. I figured. I imagined you would do something like that, Naruto replied standing up. Mizuki immediately felt a trepidation. Although Naruto was looking at him blindly, he had a feeling that Naruto could see him. Oh yeah. How did you meet the devil? You don't know how my powers work, and of course you don't. Think of it this way, Mizuki-sensei. I am a human lie detector. I can hear your heartbeat. And not only that, even being blind. Naruto disappeared to reappear in front of Mizuki. I can still see you. Mizuki jumped back before realizing that Naruto had delivered a powerful kick to his jaw. Iruka watches in amazement as Naruto quickly overtakes Mizuki. How the hell did you do that? You're blind. If you've been blind as long as I have, you'll learn that there are other ways to survive. That's why you can't beat me. Mizuki took out the big shuriken she was carrying on her back and threw it at Naruto. Naruto didn't even flinch. You just don't get it, do you? Naruto replied as he punched the shuriken away. Iruka and Mizuki couldn't help but look surprised. I have excellent chakra control. All I did was send enough chakra into my fist to deflect the shuriken. Apparently, you're too dumb to understand. It's really Naruto. I knew Naruto could always do better, but I didn't expect him to be so good. It's like I can see Mizuki. He can really see Mizuki. However, how? Naruto is blind and cannot see. The cloth covering his eyes is proof enough. What's going on? Mizuki was panting. With every attack, every time he tried to kill the blonde, he would counterattack and inflict even more damage on him. How did he do it? I am a human lie detector. I can hear your heartbeat. Super ear. Is that why he defeats me so easily? If he can hear my heartbeat, maybe he can also hear the truth in my words, Mizuki thought with a malevolent smile. Naruto, do you want to know the truth? The truth? What truth? Naruto asked. About why everyone hates you. Naruto was very curious. He could never understand why people hated him so much. No, Mizuki, it's forbidden. 12 years ago, the fourth Kage defeated the Kubino Yoko. However, the stories about his victory against the great beast were not true. In fact, the truth is that he sealed it, and in you. You get it now, don't you, Naruto? The reason people hate you is and that you are the reincarnation of the Kubino Yoko. Naruto was paralyzed when he heard those words. I didn't know if they were true or not. Mizuki really believed that he was a demon. Before Iruka or Mizuki could say anything, Naruto disappeared along with the unsealed scroll. Damn brat, he took the scroll. Well, I'll find him. After I killed you. By the way, Iruka, why are you defending the demon? That is, he is nothing more than a bloodthirsty and a cold-blooded murderer. Even you understand that he is nothing but a demon. You're right, Mizuki, a demon is like that. However, Naruto is not like that. You forgot something about the Kubino Yoko. No matter how many times we damage it, it always heals immediately. If Naruto was the Kubino Yoko, why did he lose his sight? Why didn't they regenerate? No, Naruto is a shinobi of the blade. Mizuki sighed. Apparently, you're still as stupid and naive as ever, Iruka. Well, you know, I wasn't planning on killing you until after I killed Naruto. But I've changed my mind. Mizuki took out her last big shuriken and started spinning it in her hand. Iruka smiled and thought he was going to die. What I didn't expect was for Naruto to reappear and kick Mizuki. Naruto. When did you do it? Iruka asked surprised. Although Mizuki's words reflected the truth of her heart, yours did too. I knew there was something else, so I didn't leave, but hid among the branches above you too. Iruka was stunned to hear that Naruto was hiding just a few meters above them. This is not a combat skill of a genin. Not even from a chunin. How good is Naruto? So the demon finally comes to light. However, you can't beat me. You didn't even graduate, and I'm a full-rank Chunin. Seriously, let's see if you can beat this Kajiban without no jutsu. The shadow clone technique. When he learned something like that, I heard that it is a jutsu that requires a lot of chakra and creates solid clones. Where did you learn this jutsu? Mizuki answered between demand and fear. From the scroll of the seal. What? Mizuki replied. Iruka was just as curious and surprised. I have other methods of reading and writing. Just because I've never shown them to Nen class doesn't mean I can't read. It's over, sensei. Several minutes later, Mizuki was lying on the ground convulsing, while Naruto remained standing over him. Are you okay, Iruka-sensei? Yes, Naruto, how many surprises can you have? More than you can imagine. So all those times you couldn't take the written exam, and yes, I could have. But I didn't want to raise suspicions, so I couldn't pretend helplessness. After all, the wow factor should always be a ninja's most effective weapon. Iruka couldn't help but agree. Naruto, come here, Iruka replied. Naruto advanced without knowing what Iruka had in store for him. However, he knew that they would not hurt him. When Naruto realized that Iruka was tying something around his head, he immediately knew what it was. Congratulations, you graduated, Naruto. Naruto smiled and hugged Iruka. Iruka smiled and returned the hug. 3 days later, Naruto was sleeping soundly on his desk. He was no longer wearing the blindfold that covered his eyes, replaced by his forehead protector. Many students looked at him with suspicion, but he didn't care. To his great disappointment, Sasuke sat down next to him, although he didn't say anything. Naruto, on the other hand, let out a groan when Hino and Sakura burst through the door, screaming at the top of their lungs. I've won. How did they become shinobi? It was something he never knew or wanted to know. Sakura was the first one to see Sasuke in the corner and ran to sit next to him. Then he realized that Naruto was in his seat. Naruto is not a cow. Out of me? Sakura couldn't finish talking when Naruto punched her in the stomach, throwing her across the room. Sakura got up, clutching her stomach and moaning. It's just that you can never shut up. I mean, just one morning, I would like to enjoy the peace and quiet, Naruto replied in a cold voice. Sakura was about to counterattack when Iruka came in. Stop it, Sakura, have a seat. As for the rest, congratulations on your graduation. They are now official genin of Konoha. Next, I will announce their teams. Remember that you will be part of a team of 3 people, led by a Junin. Okay, Team 1, and what do everyone think of this year's signings? I'm surprised that someone like Naruto was able to hit Sakura as well, and with such force, the red-eyed Jounin replied. Really, Hulina, and it's no mystery. He was screaming a lot. I'm sure she's a fanatic too, one heavy smoker replied. Assume, don't judge so quickly. After all, the saying goes, don't judge a book by its cover. Right. A Cyclops replied. Kakashi, stop it. Let's watch. I'm curious to know how your team will react, the third replied. Everyone turned to the crystal ball. Team 7, Uzumaki Naruto, Aruno Sakura. Sakura screamed loudly while Naruto moaned, and Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke didn't say anything. Naruto banged his head on the table, while Sakura cheered and teased Hino. Team 8, Yuga and Nata, Inuzuka Kiba, and Avarama Shino. We omitted Team 9 because I don't know their names. Team 10, Narashikamaru, Yamanaka Hino, and Akimichi Choji. Hino almost pulled his hair out when he found out that he would team up with the bad boy. Lazy and fat from school. Wait here for your Jounin instructors. 2 hours later, all the Jounin instructors came in and took their equipment away. The only team left was the 7th. Naruto had his head down. Sakura, for her part, wasn't just looking at her precious Sasuke-kun with bright eyes, but she was also very upset by the tardiness of her instructor Jounin. Sasuke-kun, do you know where our instructor Jounin is? He's leaning on the door outside the classroom, you idiot, Naruto replied calmly. Sakura jumped up and tried to hit him on the head, but his hand hit a log. Paka. Naruto replied calmly. Shut up, blind man. You don't even know how to fight. How did you become a shinobi is incomprehensible to me. Surely the instructors took pity on you and let you pass. Sakura replied. At that moment, Kakashi decided to appear. Naruto was holding his crib tightly and was about to kill the stupid girl. See you on the rooftop in 10 minutes. Kakashi disappeared in a cloud of smoke, and surprisingly, so did Naruto. Sasuke, somewhat surprised, quickly left before Sakura realized that her true love was gone. 10 minutes later, Team 7 sat down for their first team meeting. Well, let's try to get to know each other better first. How about you start? Kakashi nodded towards Naruto. Sensei, do you like to mess with Naruto no Vaka too? Sakura asked. However, his question seemed more like an expression of hope than concern. Kakashi was about to respond when Naruto punched Sakura in the nose, breaking it and causing her to bleed profusely. No, I don't. Picking on someone just because he can't see how others are is something I don't like or forgive, Kakashi replied, throwing a somber glance at Sakura, who was scared to death at her sensei's withering gaze. Why don't you go first, sensei? Naruto asked. Well, I'm Kakashi attack. My likes and dislikes, I've never considered it. I have a lot of hobbies, and as for dreams for the future, I've never considered them, Kakashi replied with a bored tone. Uzumaki Naruto. I don't like anything, and I hate noisy girls. Mostly because it makes me want to kill them, Naruto replied coldly. Sakura screamed and called her an idiot, which caused a kunai to dig deep into her shoulder. Sakura, be nice to Naruto. I don't want you to end up in a river, Kakashi replied, hoping to stop Naruto from murdering the pink-haired girl. Okay, it's your turn, Malik. I'm Aruno Sakura. I like giggles, my dream is giggles, my hobbies are giggles, and I hate Inocherdo and Naruto no Vaka. Naruto hit her. This time, he flew out against the railing and hit his head, becoming unconscious. Blood slowly gushed from his wound. However, Kakashi was deeply worried about the blind blonde shinobi. He didn't seem to regret his actions against the redhead at all. Not only that, but he was much stronger and faster than his records indicated. Even Kakashi was scared to see how, with one blow, he easily defeated him. All right, Mr. Melancholy. Sasuke. I really don't like anything, and I hate almost everything. I don't have any hobbies. And I wouldn't call it a dream, but an ambition. To kill a certain man and restore my clan. Naruto and Kakashi didn't seem to be affected by the shadowy shinobi's response. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow at training camp number 9 for training. But first, I have to take your partner to the hospital, Kakashi replied, disappearing along with Sakura. The two said nothing and disappeared from the place where they were sitting. Office of the Okage. Kakashi appeared in front of the third. Surprisingly, Asuma and Kurenai were also present. Kakashi, what are you doing here? Oh my god. Is that Sakura? Yes. What happened to him? Naruto? What? Naruto? Are you saying Naruto killed her? She's not dead, but I'm afraid Naruto will kill her one day. It is obvious that he insults him, attacks him, and does everything possible to make him feel bad about himself. If she did this daily and got away with it, Naruto would be about to lose his mind and kill her. Today, in front of me, every time I insulted him or attacked him in any way he could think of. He responded by hitting and stabbing her with a crib. When she told us that she hated Naruto just because he was blind and weak, Naruto gave her a single punch. And she flew out against the railing, fracturing her skull. Naruto shouldn't be so strong. That is, his strength is not that of a genin. Kurenai shouted and surprised. Okage-sama, maybe it's better that I suspend all three of you. Naruto hates both the Uchiha and Aruno. I see it clearly, he wants to kill them, Kakashi replied as he begged the third to disband Team 7. The Sandai smoked his pipe at me before answering. Kakashi, keep an eye on Naruto. His hatred towards Aruno Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke is common. They have never shown him any respect or kindness. Sasuke and Sakura make fun of him just for being blind, ever since they met him. However, something tells me that Naruto is hiding something. Iruka told me that Naruto commented, and I quote, "Surprise is the biggest element of a ninja's surprise. I let people see me in a way that allows me to easily dominate them and eliminate them without them noticing. Being blind helps me with this." The third replied with a smile. "Can you see?" Kakashi exclaimed, panting. "No, he's completely blind. The doctors and paramedics told me that it was impossible to repair and restore his sight. However, he must have discovered another way of seeing. It is the only way to explain how he manages to survive without the ability to see." The three Junin didn't say anything, they just looked at the Sandaime, curious to know Naruto's secret. Note from the author. Well, I wanted to do the stupid bells test in this chapter, but it was going to be too long. I hope you like it. Although Naruto can't see Konoha, he has another method to do so. Kujeben Sin no Jutsu Shadow Cloning Technique. Naruto not Naruto, cow, you idiot. The Daredevil Namikaze. I checked this story 8 hours after I posted it. I couldn't believe how many people had liked it. I'm warning you right now. Naruto's secret will only be revealed during the Chunin exams, in his fight with Meiji. There the secret of his hidden vision will be completely revealed. Chapter 2. Team 7. Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura were walking towards each other. Sakura was bandaged up from the wounds Naruto had inflicted on her. He glared furiously at the blonde before jumping on Sasuke-kun. Lucky Sasuke replied to me, while Sakura hugged him, like there was no tomorrow. Naruto sighed, knowing full well that he wasn't going to enjoy this team. Naruto took out an apple and ate it. To their bad luck, Sakura and Sasuke heard the noise he was making while eating, and turned to look at him. Her stomach was starting to swell. "What?" Naruto asked when he noticed that they were staring at him. "Do you have anything else?" Sakura asked with a cold tone. "Shut up, sir." Naruto snapped. Sakura was about to burst. No one was calling her puis she was getting away with it. He was about to say something when Sasuke beat him to it. "I haven't eaten anything. I was in a hurry and forgot. Can I have something?" Sasuke turned his head. It was obvious that asking for food hurt his pride. Naruto didn't respond calmly as he finished the apple and took out another one. Sasuke had a vein throbbing in his temple and turned to look at Naruto in surprise. "It's clear that you were foolish enough not to prepare your own food and equipment. I'm not going to sacrifice my things for you two to have fun. Next time, come better prepared. Besides, Kakashi-sensei is here," Naruto replied as he put away his apple. Kakashi appeared with a mocking smile. "Sorry for being late, but I came across a black cat and took the longest way," Kakashi replied with cheerful tone. "Liar!" Sakura shouted. Naruto grabbed his ears tightly. "Well, I didn't tell you all this yesterday, due to several incidents that happened yesterday. But now I will inform you about your Genin exam." "Genin exam?" "Sensei, we are already Genin. How do you think we got these forehead protectors?" Sakura replied with an authoritative tone. Kakashi was now beginning to understand why Naruto hated the young girl. "Well, I'm sorry to have to tell you the truth so quickly, but that test only serves to see who has the potential to become a genius. His real test is performed by his Jounin instructors. Those who do not pass it will return to the academy. Now I have 2 bells here." Kakashi picks up 2 bells. "Whoever fails to pick them up will return to the academy," Kakashi replied. No one said anything. "Ready now," Kakashi ordered. Immediately, the 3 Genin scattered, disappearing before his eyes. For a while, Kakashi stood in the middle of the clearing, carefully observing his surroundings. To his surprise, Naruto was the quietest of all. "Well, it seems that everyone is well hidden. The only question is, who to attack first?" Kakashi replied in a slightly too loud voice. Kakashi's first thought was to go after Naruto, but he dismissed the idea. Mostly because he didn't want the blonde guy to think that he was bullying him because of his disability. He decided to test a girl who was running around the area like an elephant, looking for her precious Sasuke-kun. Sakura stumbled, broke and shattered every branch she found in search of her savior. He stopped in his tracks when he saw his sensei standing, reading a book. Well, he didn't notice me. Now I have to find Sasuke-kun. Sakura answered a voice behind her back. Sakura turned around and saw Kakashi with his hands on the rat seal. Suddenly, the leaves around him whipped at his face. He felt a slight drowsiness for a few moments before completely waking up. He looked around and saw himself standing in the middle of a clearing. Huh? What's going on? Where is the sensei? This is weird, and what were those leaves? Where did they all go? Sakura, and a voice answered behind her back, wondering what was happening. Sasuke-kun? Sakura shouted with joy until she saw the state of her savior. His eyes were opened immeasurably by fear. Sasuke was on the ground, covered in kunai. She was about to scream, but a figure appeared in front of her, brandishing a sword as a cane. It was Naruto. Naruto followed Kakashi towards Sakura and was surprised to see him sneak up from behind and throw a genjutsu at her. The worst thing was that she became completely trapped in her genjutsu, unable to free herself or even realize that she was trapped. Naruto advanced and drew his sword, which was hidden like a staff. How pathetic are you? You can't even protect those you care about. You have no right to be a shinobi from the Hidden Leaf Village. You and everything you love will perish, Naruto replied in a cold voice before stabbing her with his sword. Sakura, shocked, looked Naruto in the face. He felt the cold steel running through his body. He looked down and saw Naruto's sword stuck in his stomach. Red blood was dripping. She looked at Naruto one last time before darkness engulfed her. Naruto didn't even seem worried. He had just killed his partner. He only spoke one word to Sakura before she collapsed. Revenge. Naruto disappeared, leaving the place as quickly as he had arrived. Kakashi jumped up and took Sakura's pulse. He breathed a sigh of relief as he felt her vital signs. The blow to the stomach had not been as lethal as I had expected. Apparently, Naruto had failed. However, Kakashi wondered if he had done it on purpose to make Naruto suffer. Before he died, he reached into his bag and pulled out a first aid kit. He thought he wouldn't need it, but he was still surprised at Naruto's coldness. Apparently, his hatred for Sakura was much deeper than Kakashi had imagined. I would have to talk to both of them about teamwork and the importance of collaborating. Naruto watched as Kakashi treated Sakura. To her surprise, what Kakashi had given Sakura was slowly causing her death. Naruto smiled maliciously. Maybe he could kill his other partner. Naruto disappeared while Kakashi was looking at the place where he had been. Kakashi immediately thought that Naruto would go after Sasuke. He finished healing Sakura as best he could and turned to Sasuke, hoping to stop the blonde from killing him. Luckily for Kakashi, Naruto didn't try to attack the last Uchiha. He was hiding among the trees, almost as if I was watching him. Kakashi decided to put Uchiha in his place before Naruto got violent with him. There was something really strange about the blonde. Well, are you willing to try to get a bell? Kakashi asked the boy with the hair. I don't need to try. I know I can get a bell, Sasuke replied to Kakashi. Let's see. Sasuke adopted a defensive posture while Kakashi took out his book. He started reading when Sasuke threw two kunai and a shuriken at him. Kakashi jumped away when a burst of shurikens hit him after cutting a ninja cable. Not bad at all. A well-executed trap, Kakashi thought, somewhat impressed. He was about to dodge them when another wave of shurikens appeared, diverting them from Sasuke. They were both stunned. The surprise was even greater when Naruto appeared out of nowhere and threw a punch in his face. Sasuke blocked the blow, gritting his teeth in anger. Naruto then kicked him in the stomach. Sasuke flew out backwards, did a somersault in the air, and landed on the ground. What are you doing, you idiot? Sasuke asked. Simple, only to need to pass this test to become a shinobi. Anyone who doesn't make it through really needs to go back to the academy. He may die. This avoids a lot of problems, don't you think? Naruto replied. Sasuke hated to admit it, but the blonde guy was right. A mocking smile was drawn on his face. All right, since you're clearly a nuisance, how about I take your life? Sasuke shouted as they formed up. Katen. Gakaki no Jutsu. Sasuke shouted, throwing a fireball at Naruto. Just as Sasuke was about to attack, a hand grabbed him off the ground. Toton? Shinyuzansu no Jutsu. Sasuke felt himself being dragged, and, before he realized what was happening, he found himself underground. Well, I can't have you two fighting and trying to kill each other, Kakashi replied, but before he could say anything, the alarm went off. Oh my god, time's up. Naruto glared at his sensei before letting his guard down. Naruto, come here, Kakashi asked. Naruto didn't move. He knew what was going on and he didn't like it. Naruto was tied to the logs while Akura, who eventually regained consciousness, and Sasuke sat in front of him. Well, I'll let you all three know the results. Sakura, for someone so obsessed with your partner, you're an idiot for not detecting genjutsu. Naruto, you need to learn to control your emotions and not attack your companions. Sasuke, you need to learn how to work as a team and show respect. Moreover, self-control, replied Kakashi in a calm voice. Naruto didn't say anything. If Kakashi had to describe how the blonde guy felt, he'd say he was bored. The good news is that none of you will be returning to the academy, Kakashi replied. Sakura looked pleased, clearly thinking that they would pass. All of you will return home, and you will never be ninjas again. What the hell are you talking about? Sakura shouted. Simple, none of you have the slightest idea what it's like to be a shinobi. For example, Sasuke, you are blind and cannot see the talent of others, Kakashi replied in a calm tone. Sasuke became enraged and attacked Kakashi. Before Sasuke realized what was happening, Kakashi pinned him to the ground. Do you see what I mean? They don't know anything about being a shinobi. So I'm going to tell you something, Kakashi replied, reaching into his bag of weapons. He took out a kunai and pointed it at Sasuke's neck. Sakura, kill Naruto, or I'll kill Sasuke. Sakura looked a little confused. Suddenly, he got happy and took out a kunai. Kakashi was stunned at his intention to do so, when suddenly Naruto's legs stretched out and curled around his kunai, squeezing it hard. Sakura started to turn blue. You're gonna kill me, huh? I'm sorry, sir, but you're not even up to me to touch me, Naruto replied in a cold voice. Sakura clung to her ankles trying to get out, but Naruto held her firmly. She was about to break his neck when Kakashi gave her a stomach fuck, forcing him to let go of her. Sakura collapsed, breathing hard and rubbing her neck. You three are missing my point. Let me explain. I've never had a genin team. They're like all those losers waiting for me to coach them. No one knows what it means to be a shinobi. I'll give them one last chance. However, this time it will be even more difficult. And above all, no one should feed Naruto. That's his punishment. Whoever does, that will fail, Kakashi replied in a cold voice, and disappeared from view. Naruto didn't say anything, and started moving restlessly. Sasuke and Sakura looked at him when, suddenly, the robe that enveloped him came loose, and he stretched out his arms. As if nothing had happened. You two are really dumb. This exam was a test of teamwork. The purpose of this exam was to work together and improve together. They cannot conquer the world alone. That's why they have a team, Naruto replied calmly. Sasuke and Sakura didn't want to admit it, but Naruto was so right. Naruto took out a scroll and opened it. A puff of smoke came out, and Naruto was soon eating. I always carry with me scrolls with sealed food. It's called the survival instinct. Here, don't slouch, Naruto replied, throwing a bag of chips and a drink at them. Kakashi, leaning against the tree, smiled. Perhaps all was not lost. But first, I was going to have some fun. What is this? Who unleashed Naruto? Team 7 immediately adopted a defensive posture. Sensei, we are a team. That means we work together, Sakura replied, panicking at her sensei's withering gaze. Really? Kakashi asked. Sasuke and Sakura were shaking with fear, wondering what she was going to do. Only Naruto remained impassive. That means and everyone approves, Kakashi replied in a cheerful voice. And silence was his answer. Nani? They both shouted. I'm glad you both thought about breaking the rules for the sake of your partner. Naruto, excellent leadership. You put aside spite and hatred and worked with two people you didn't want to work with in the first place. This will happen often during missions. It's better to work with someone and keep them alive, even if you don't like them, than to have their death as a constant worry. I want you to look at this stone, Kakashi replied as he observed a green stone on the ground. For a few moments, no one said anything. Mainly because the genin didn't know what to answer. However, they kept looking at the stone and waited for their sensei to continue. Here are our heroes. Shinobi who died in combat. Unlike most hidden villages, we respect our fallen comrades, no matter how skilled or famous they were. Many of them may have never heard of them. On the battlefield, those who break the rules become scum. However, those who abandon their friends are worse than scum, Kakashi told them in a stern tone. Well, congratulations to everyone. Team 7 is now official, Kakashi replied with a smile. Sakura let out a cry of jubilation. Sasuke snorted and Naruto left. 3 weeks later, Sasuke arrived at point C. This is Sakura. I've reached point B. There was a moment of silence. This is Naruto, getting to point A. You're a slow one. Are you lost? Sasuke replied. At least I didn't lose my pants. Sasuke felt a vein swell up and looked down to check if his pants were still intact. To his relief, they still were. Suddenly, he felt rage as he realized that Naruto had cheated on him. Nice try, silly. You look. I didn't, Sasuke retorted more angrily than he intended. Look. Naruto replied with joy. Moving targets, Sakura replied, giving Naruto a furious look. Naruto jumped forward and landed on top of the cat, which responded by clawing him to death. Capture of the target. Okay, mission. Capturing the lost pet Tora, completed, Kakashi calmly replied. Aren't there more exciting missions? Sakura shouted into the microphone. All the men were paralyzed before collapsing. His ears pricked up to the maximum. The mission room. Well done. Now, the next mission of Team 7. You can choose between picking potatoes, babysitting, and dog walking. Today. No. He shouted in advance. Sakura. Excuse me. The Hokage asked politely, but everyone knew it was a demand. This is for kids, not for shinobi. We are shinobi who must prove our worth and prove that love rules everything, Sakura shouted. Naruto wanted to kill that stupid girl right there. Sasuke seemed to agree with him. He didn't want to do any more poop rank missions either and looked nervously at the third poop. I see, you're right. Shinobi are supposed to accept challenges to improve their skills. Although I'm not really sure that love rules everything. However, I will give you a C grade for your effort. This shouldn't be too difficult for your team, Kakashi. But still, it will be a challenge. You're going to protect someone. Really? Who? Who? A prince. A knight in shining armor. The Fire Lord. Seku asked, with enthusiasm. Baka, that's a job for Ambu and Jounin, Naruto muttered. Shut up, Naruto, not Baka. Sakura screamed as she reached out to hit the blonde on the head, who dodged her attack, causing her to stumble and fall on her face. Baka muttered Naruto. Sakura was holding her nose in pain, clearly angry at the blonde for dodging the attack. Kakashi was scratching his head nervously. It was common to see Sakura taking it out on Naruto, who somehow managed to avoid her attacks, causing the pink-haired shinobi to get hurt. No, but it's important for your country. Come on and answer watermelon me as the door opens despite the unusual behavior of the Rugby A7 team. Naruto arched an eyebrow. An old drunk. Wait, his hands and body are sturdy. Not like a ninja, but like someone who lays carpets. No, a builder or something. What is this? 3 kids. I thought I had paid for good protection. Is this a joke or something? The old man asked the Hokage. Rest assured that Team 7 is a Gen Innovato team, but they are good and strong enough for this mission, the third replied in a calm voice. Before smoking his pipe again. I don't like them. Especially the blonde one. Can't you see? Asked the drunk. Naruto became nervous and quickly reached for his bag of weapons. Kakashi, realizing what Naruto was going to do, jumped on him before he fired his shuriken at his client. Take it easy, Naruto. There is no need to kill our client. Calm down, Kakashi replied before turning to the inebriated customer. It is true that Naruto is blind, but he is still an excellent shinobi. Can we know the name of our client? Tazuna, look at them. I'm Tazuna, the super bridge builder from the land of waves. Not to mention he was drunk, Naruto muttered. Kakashi pressed Naruto's arm. Naruto thought Kakashi was going to break it for him. Okay, Team 7. Be ready at the west gate in an hour, Kakashi ordered, as he disappeared into the smoke. Naruto got up and quickly jumped out of the window. Sasuke disappeared so quickly that Sakura didn't notice his absence. Finally, Sakura ran home and packed a bunch of perfume. Sasuke kept food and weapons in his backpack. He stared at the old family photo he had on the bedside table. I swear I will avenge you all. Naruto was busy bandaging his arms and legs. He put on some ambu pants with a lot of cuts and a light armor shinobi tank top without sleeves. Around the bandages were the black bandages that Sasuke wore in the Chunin exams. I don't know what their names are, so imagine them. Naruto took his backpack. It was a gift from the third cage. He had been told that Zambu people used backpacks like this for long missions. He never understood why the third cage gave him so many things that normally only Zam received. I keep the scrolls inside before slinging the backpack on my back and adjusting it to my shoulder and belt. The backpack is very light and small. Naruto's shirt has a magnet that attaches to the top of the backpack, while the bottom has hooks to attach it to the belt. Let's remember that the third cage had given him a lot of ambu-type equipment. An hour later, Team 7 was at the gate with Kakashi next to Tazuna. When an unknown blonde approached them, Kakashi thought he was lost until he realized it was Naruto. Naruto, where did you get that outfit from? This. I got it from the third cage last year, Naruto replied calmly. Why would the Hokage give you clothes? Sakura asked. Every year, the third one gives me clothes or scrolls for my birthday. I don't have any money, so it's my only source of income, Naruto replied coldly, making it clear that he didn't want to discuss the subject with his companions. Sakura, however, clearly wanted to continue and was about to annoy the blonde. But Kakashi stepped up to the plate. Well, that's very kind of you. Anyway, let's go. We are heading to the country of waves. If we keep a good pace, we will arrive before dark, Kakashi replied, leading his team. Sasuke quickly followed them, intrigued as to why the third cage was giving things to Naruto. Sakura paused, clearly interested in finding out more about the special treatment Naruto received, while her Sasuke-kun did not. However, when she saw her true love walking in front, she ran to him and began to sift him with questions. Naruto was following her closely, visibly bored. Hey, Kakashi-sensei, are there any other shinobi villages? I mean, why would someone from the land of waves hire shinobi from Konoha? Don't they have their own hidden village? Not every country has a hidden village, Sakura. Many neighboring countries, smaller and poorer than others, resort to their villages. It is known that there are 5 large hidden villages. Each one has its own leader, the Hokage, the Kazakage, the Mizukage, the Reikikage, and the Tsuchikage. Each one governs one of the elementary countries. There are smaller countries with their own hidden villages, but they are not as well known as the big 5 shinobi villages, Kakashi answers. Sakura looks a little confused. Ah, I understand, Sakura replied before turning to Sasuke and trying to get him to speak. Kakashi, Naruto, and Tazuna got a drop of sweat when they realized that she hadn't understood. Soon after, Naruto almost stopped when he saw 2 puddles on the road. However, what amazed him was that 2 people, hidden under a genjutsu, were standing right where the water was. Naruto walked past them, watching them warily. Judging by their forehead protectors, they were mist ninjas. Kakashi also observed the puddles. With little interest, but he knew he had to stay alert. He continued reading his book and walking behind his team. The demon brothers stood up and attacked Kakashi with their chain. The first one. They shouted as Kakashi was torn to pieces. Sakura screamed when she saw the blood of Kakashi splashing everywhere. Sasuke stood up and, by his expression, showed that he didn't care that his sensei had just died. Naruto adopted a defensive posture, but the demon brothers overpowered him. Screaming, the second one. Just as their gauntlets were about to touch Sakura, they felt a tug and stopped. What? They exclaimed, looking back. Naruto's cane had the chain pin stuck in the ground. Sasuke, taking advantage of the opportunity, jumped on both brothers' gauntlets and threw them against a tree, entangling his weapon at the base. Sasuke jumped up and shot a shuriken at the chain. Upon impact, he threw a cradle and into the center of the shuriken, catching her. Furious, the brothers freed themselves from their gauntlets. One chased Naruto, while the other went after Sasuke. Sasuke threw his crib, missing the blow on the left knee of the demon brother. He smiled with a sarcastic smile and brandished his gauntlet at Sasuke's head, who dodged him by rolling next to him. Before he could turn around and stamp the gauntlet on his head, he felt a sharp pain in his left knee and fell to the ground. Realizing that Sasuke had used the kunai as a lever to attack his blind spot, anger invaded him. He was ready to shoot the gauntlet in Sasuke's face when someone much stronger than him knocked him out by simply grabbing him by the neck. To Sakura's relief and surprise, her sensei was holding both ninjas. Realizing that the danger had passed, Sakura screamed for the brave and heroic protection of her Sasuke-kun. Sasuke-kun, you were amazing. You're the best. Naruto felt that he should have let the two mist ninjas kill the girl. If he was starting to have feelings for her, he needed to get away. Well done, Naruto. I'm impressed that you stopped his attack on Sakura. Kakashi-sensei, weren't you watching? It was Sasuke-kun who saved me, Sakura shouted loudly. Tazuna looked at the blonde, and was even more surprised to see him remain so calm in a situation like that. Naruto, how did you know they were enemy ninjas? Kakashi asked the blonde. Everyone except Sakura stopped and looked at the blonde for an answer. It's simple. I can perceive the chakra of people. That's how I can see. I use two methods. One is my cane. I channel chakra to him and release him when he touches the ground. This way, I can get an idea of my surroundings. The other method is to perceive the chakra. I am very good at perceiving the chakra. I've never failed to notice anyone. Kakashi was impressed. It had never occurred to him that Naruto could also survive on chakra alone. He assumed it was necessary to be a ninja. Okay, guys. Let's go. Tazuna, we need to talk. However, Kakashi didn't ask Tazuna anything. Not until they reached the bank of a river where a boat was waiting for them. Once on board, Kakashi turned to Tazuna. Okay, now, why did you lie to us about the mission? Tazuna didn't say anything, but she started to sweat. Since you lied, we have the right to leave you and return to our village. Now, do you want to explain yourself? Kakashi asked calmly. Very well, it's because a dangerous man wants to kill me, Tazuna said in a calm voice. Then he began to tell them how the Wave Country is ruled by a man named Gato, a drug kingpin, thugs and thirsty for power. He rode the wave and quickly seized control, plunging the country into chaos. Tazuna hoped to build a bridge that would connect to the territory of men, hoping to revive trade and sales. Something that Cat could not control. As you can see, I have to build this bridge. I understand if you have to leave. However, if they do, my poor grandson will mourn the death of his dear grandson, and my daughter might curse Konoha to heaven. But still, I totally understand, Tazuna replied. Take it easy. Kakashi and his team looked at each other nervously before Kakashi replied. Well, I guess we'll just have to keep protecting you. Tazuna heaved a sigh of relief as he shouted victory in his mind. Shortly after, Team 7 landed and started to head into the forest. Unbeknownst to them, a shadow was watching them. He wielded a sword as tall as he was. The daredevil Namikaze. Many people told me that I criticized Sakura too much. I will criticize her very little in this chapter. However, Naruto will learn interesting things from Zabuza and Aku. I won't say anything else or I'll ruin the surprise. The couples are still undecided. However, these people will not be with Naruto. And Nada Ikaga, Anabi Ikaga, Hino, Ana Inzuka, Tsumi Inzuka, Anko, Tsunade, and Sakura. Some people have asked me to Kulina, Rin, Shizune, Tenten, Konano Yujito. Chapter 3. The Demon of the Fog. Naruto felt a vein swell up more and more as he heard Sakura bothering Sasuke. Sasuke also seemed irritated. Tazuna looked at her as if wondering if she had an off button. Kakashi was reading his book, but he was getting impatient too. Before anyone could react, the Kushina and Naruto almost grazed Sakura's head and hit a tree trunk. Naruto! Sakura shrieked, jumping up to deliver a fatal blow to Naruto's head, crashing her to the ground. Unfortunately, Naruto passed by, causing Sakura to fall on her face to the ground. Naruto passed by the bush and spotted something similar to a small animal, but too big to be a mouse. Looking carefully, he realized that it was a rabbit, but there was someone's chakra there. Naruto looked back through the trees. Whoever had been there moments before was incredibly powerful and not an amateur. Kakashi approached Naruto and realized that the rabbit was kept solely for the use of Kawarimi no Jutsu. The masked man watched the blonde boy with interest. He was surprised to see that the blonde had found him so quickly before the Junin, whom he recognized as Attack Kakashi. Also known as Kakashi the Sharingan. Kakashi returned to his team, looking very serious. Someone was nearby. Either he was watching them, or he was about to act. Kakashi didn't even seem to hear Sakura yelling at Naruto, demanding that he apologize for making her look so bad in front of Sasuke-kun. Before Kakashi could decide, he felt something approaching at high speed. "Get down on the floor!" Kakashi shouted as he grabbed Sakura and Tazuna and forced them to the ground. Sasuke and Naruto fell to the ground. A gigantic sword appeared right above their heads. As he passed, he nailed himself to the tree above them, where a sleeveless man was standing. Kakashi looked at him and immediately realized that he was going to be a formidable opponent. Well, you are Momichi Zabuza, Kiri's nuclear ninja," replied Kakashi matter-of-factly, as if the two ninjas were chatting over drinks. "Ah, you must be the copycat ninja, Kakashi Attack," Zabuza replied before turning back. "Look at the geniuses." He snorted. "So you're in charge of a bunch of useless people. I should have known you weren't going to live up to your reputation and follow the third cage. Hey, brat, what's your name?" Zabuza asked Naruto. However, Sasuke stepped forward to respond. "I am, not you, scum." "I meant the blonde," Zabuza growled. "Uzumaki," Naruto said. Naruto calmly. Zabuza's face paled at the word Uzumaki. Kakashi seemed to notice that Zabuza felt an instant fear inside her. "Uzumaki, you said? That's impossible. They are all exterminated." Now Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura were starting to get curious. Did the Uzumaki clan possess a special ability by lineage? However, Tazuna didn't seem to be in the same situation in front of the almighty Kami-sama. "He's an Uzumaki. I thought they had become extinct almost 20 years ago. Although I have never faced one, his legacy is even greater than that of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Wait, it could be the teacher. Gaki. Is your mother Uzumaki Kushina?" Hearing the name, Kakashi opened his eyes wide. He looked at Naruto, but he didn't see any resemblance to Kushina. "I don't know. My parents died when I was born 13 years ago. What's so special about the Uzumaki? They are weak and pathetic. Sasuke-kun is great, and oozes talent," Sakura shouted, looking at Sasuke to prove him right. Actually, the Uzumaki are very revered here in the wave, the fog, the ocean, the sea, the storm and the whirlpool, where they originally came from. The first swordsman of the mist was an Uzumaki with almost 20 different styles of kenjutsu. Masters in chakra control, and with an IQ over 200. They are top-notch shinobi who serve as guardians of the sea. It is also said that each Uzumaki creates a jutsu that only he or she can use. People consider them superior to the daimyo and profess greater respect for them than the village leaders. However, and Tazuna replied, but he could not continue. The old man is right. However, about 20 years ago, the third Mizukage considered the Uzumaki to be too powerful. Then, he ordered his entire army to exterminate them. The struggle between the Uzumaki and the Mizukage lasted almost a year. Before all the Uzumaki died, only one survivor was known. My sensei and mentor, Uzumaki Koru, who fled to Konoha when the battle was about to begin. However, I learned that he died 12 years ago, during the Nine Tails attack at the gates of Konoha. But the reason why the Uzumaki were feared, and Zabuza paused. Just remembering it made his blood run wild. Their power could even surpass that of the cage themselves, Zabuza replied coldly. Naruto was shocked, as was his team. Tazuna, on the other hand, looked at Naruto with different eyes. So you're the biggest threat here. Normally I would delete you first, but it seems like your Junin will just get in the way. Let's get started, Kakashi attack, shouted Zabuza, quickly disappearing from the tree. Kakashi stood up the ninja band. Sasuke and Sakura stared at her. Naruto, on the other hand, watched her and studied the strange eye. What is that eye? I knew there was something powerful about his right eye because it was always covered with chakra. It looks like you can copy jutsus. Yes, I see it very clearly now. The way your eye chakra moves indicates that it is designed to copy and collect information. Interesting, maybe? Well, it wouldn't hurt to try, Naruto thought as he started imitating Kakashi's Sharingan with his chakra. Kirigakure no jutsu. Zabuza replied over the water. Kakashi turns to look at him and then fixes him with his Sharingan. It's an honor for me to face the Sharingan so soon, Kakashi attack. Zabuza's voice echoed around him. Well, there are 8 weak points. Where to aim? Where to aim? Zabuza scoffed. Sakura and Sasuke started shaking with fear. Naruto, however, didn't even flinch at the intensity of the bloodlust emanating from them. Everyone, form the swastika. Protect Tazuna-san. Whatever happens, don't join the battle. Not interfering is teamwork. Do not let your guard down under any circumstances. Sensei, who is he? Momoki Zabuza belonged to the Ambu of Kirigakure and was known for his silent assassination techniques, Kakashi explains. Silence. Sakura asked. His knees were shaking a lot. As the name suggests, it is a lethal technique that is executed in an instant and in absolute silence. You may die before you know it. Also, I can't use my Sharingan to the fullest. Like I said, don't let your guard down. But if you fail, you will die, Kakashi replies calmly, as if it doesn't matter. You're taking it too easy, sensei. Sakura shouted at Kakashi. His voice was so loud that it was probably heard miles away. Shut up, you tramp. Naruto snarled. Shut up, Naruto is not a cow. Sakura shouted. You should listen to your partner, Zabuza's voice replied, as if he were everywhere. A shinobi must remain silent at all times. Just by screaming, I can kill you like this, Zabuza retorted. 3 kume emerged behind Sakura, heading towards her head. Kakashi reacted quickly and countered them with 3. Sakura, realizing that she might have died, opened her eyes in surprise. I was relieved, but too shocked to say anything. Before he could react, Zabuza's bloodlust began to grow, the genie's breathing difficulties. Sasuke was in great pain. I felt the need to finish him. He was ready to commit suicide when Kakashi spoke. Sasuke, don't worry. I won't let any of you die, he replies with a smile. 8 options: liver, lungs, spine, collarbone, neck, brain, kidneys, heart. Which one should I attack? Zabuza asked with her voice, echoing behind the genie. Sasuke, Sakura and Tazuna were the only ones paralyzed by fear. Naruto, however, drew his sword and attacked Zabuza in the face. Zabuza blocked the blow with his, looking at Naruto admiringly. I should have foreseen that, Uzumaki-san, commented Zabuza. He looked at Naruto with respect and seemed to enjoy the situation. Naruto seemed to raise his head as if realizing something. A clone. Before either Zabuza or Naruto could move, Kakashi jumped forward and stabbed Zabuza with his crib and the water spilled out before disintegrating around Kakashi. "Sensei, behind you!" Sakura shouted. Kakashi turned just in time to see Zabuza's Kubikar 8 split him in half. To Zabuza's surprise, Kakashi also disintegrated into water. Zabuza was stunned to see that Kakashi had managed to replicate his Mizubansen in the fog. Zabuza stood up and felt a kunai in her throat. "Don't move, Zabuza." "It's over," Kakashi replies, holding his kunai dangerously close to Zabuza's neck. Zabuza didn't say anything, and then let out a giggle. "It's over. You don't understand. There's no way you can beat me with your monkey impersonations. But I must admit that, at that time, you had already copied my clone fusion jutsu. I won't let any of you die. You made your clone say those words, and to get my attention, while the real you was hiding in the fog and watching me. Good plan." But Zabuza finished her sentence. Kakashi was getting nervous. "Would you have some up your sleeve?" "I'm not that easy to beat," said the voice of Zabuza behind Kakashi, whose eyes widened inordinately in surprise at seeing the clone disappear. "That's also false," Sakura cried out in terror. "I was going to die. He hadn't even been able to kiss his true love first, and he was already going to die." Zabuza brandished his sword hard and fast. Kakashi barely managed to dodge her in time. Zabuza stuck the sword into the ground and changed hands to give it more speed and strength, delivering a powerful kick to Kakashi's face. Kakashi flew through the air and landed in the water, where he used his chakra to stay afloat. Kakashi looks up and sees Zabuza standing at the water's edge forming up with them. "Suten. Mizuku Serano Jutsu." Zabuza shouted in a powerful voice, hitting the water with his hand. Something grabbed Kakashi's ankles. Before he knew it, his hands were also trapped by the water that Zabuza had created. Too bad, Kakashi, escaping into the water was a bad idea. This is a special prison that we use to capture rogue ninjas. It is a rank jutsu. Water acts as chains and bonds, and blocks all possible use of chakra. But lucky for you, I can't move into this position. However, that doesn't mean I can't take care of your brats. Mizuban without no jutsu. A water clone appeared next to Zabuza and advanced towards the frightened genin. As expected, Gaki is playing at being a ninja, the Zabuza clone replied with a cold tone. "What are you talking about? Of course we are ninjas. How do you think we got these front guards from our village?" Sakura demanded. Naruto felt like banging his head against something. Why was Sakura so stupid? Yes, Konoha has some of the best warriors in the world. But they have the weakest and most pathetic hearts. That village is too emotional. It houses weak shinobi, incapable of killing, who have never felt fear or thirst for blood. That's why they're just kids playing at being ninjas, Zabuza replied. Sakura and Sasuke trembled with fear. Unable to believe that a Junin was there mocking them, Zabuza raised his right hand and looked at her. "When I was his age, these hands were already stained with blood. I have killed more people than any of you could imagine," Zabuza concluded. "Bloody fog," Kakashi replies. "Ah, so even you've heard of that." Bloody fog. What is the bloody fog? Sakura asked. For generations, the hidden village of the mist was known as the Bloody Mist for almost 50 years. To become a genin, it was necessary to pass an exam. "So you even know about that," Zabuza commented. "What was the exam about?" "This final test. Students fighting to the death." This response terrified the two genin like no other. Students who knew each other, trained together, became friends. They faced them in a fight where one would survive and the other would die. 10 years ago, the village hidden in the fog was forced to change this, due to a fact and an evil that appeared in the village. "Ah, so you've heard about me. What did this evil one do?" Sakura asked, unsure. I wanted to know the answer. Without hesitation or fear, he murdered the entire graduating class that year. The demon Zabuza? Zabuza said nothing. Then his clone turned to Genin, missing that day. It was a lot of fun, he replied, while Sakura and Sasuke were petrified with fear. Zabuza knocked Sasuke down with a kick and began to press on his chest, making him feel that the clone's foot was going to crush him. Sasuke-kun, Sakura shouted. Seeing her true love defeated so easily terrified her. Naruto lunged forward and formed a cross-shaped seal. Kajibin without no jutsu. Naruto replied calmly. The Zabuza clone looked up and saw Naruto running towards him. Oh, the technique of shadow clones. Quite a few. What? Zabuza shouted without even feeling the two Naruto clones behind him as they cut the water clone into pieces. Naruto dispelled the shadow clone technique. Using the smoke as a smoke screen, he threw a Fuma Shuriken at Zabuza. Zabuza was surprised to see a shuriken smoke coming out of the Kajibin-san's smoke and heading straight towards him. It's not bad. However, attacking me when I'm not ready, and Zabuza caught him with his right hand. It's too easy for me, Zabuza declared. That's when he saw another shuriken smoke. Kageshiruken no Jutsu. Zabuza fell to the surface of the water and lay there while the Fuma Shuriken passed by him. Not bad at all. However, you didn't think it through. That attack was too easy for me, Zabuza commented to Naruto. Naruto said nothing and disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Zabuza, surprised, looked back and saw how the Fuma Shuriken transformed into Naruto. The Smoke Shuriken. You mean he used the Enga no Jutsu to get behind me? I should take him as an apprentice. He's even better than Aku. Zabuza stood up and smiled. I should have expected it. Of the last Uzumaki. They always come up with a great plan, no matter how bad the situation gets. Kakashi, released from his prison, looked at Naruto. He wanted to fire his team, but Naruto managed to overcome the situation and attacked Zabuza repeatedly for his blind spot. He was deeply impressed and wanted to thank the blonde. However, he had his own problems to worry about. Zabuza seems to be thinking the same thing and turns to look at Kakashi. Well, I must admit that your student is really impressive. Without a doubt, he is a true prodigy among prodigies. Well, let's get this over with. Zabuza lunged forward, but stopped when Kakashi shot him a powerful look with his Sharingan. Soon Kakashi began to imitate his every move. Damn. You're pissing me off. Nani. He read her mind. Both Zabuza and Kakashi began to form themselves. All you do is copy me. You're not going to beat me with your monkey skills. Zabuza's eyes filled with frustration. He was about to finish the stamp when he stopped. He saw himself next to Kakashi. Genjutsu. No, impossible. So, it's me. Kakashi formed the last two labels and shouted. Suten. Debakufu no Jutsu. Nainami. Zabuza screamed when the jutsu hit him. I was the one trying to perform that jutsu, but I couldn't keep up with it. What an amazing power! Naruto jumped into a tall tree to avoid the powerful gust of wind from the technique. Sasuke, Sakura and Tazuna were not so lucky, as they were almost dragged by Kakashi's jutsu. Zabuza landed on the base of the tree. Before he could recover, some cribs and pierced his body. Zabuza looked at Kakashi, who had landed on a tree branch with a cradle and in his hand. Can it see the future? Yes, you're going to die, Kakashi replies calmly. Two needles in Bona cross Zabuza's neck, apparently killing him. You're right. If he died, replied a hunter nin. Kakashi ignored the ninja hunter and jumped up to check on him. He had no pulse. Zabuza was dead. I thank you for your help. I've been looking for an opportunity to kill Zabuza myself. I must go, the ninja hunter replied calmly. He vanished with a shunsin and disappeared with Zabuza. Well, that's good for us. Let's go, Kakashi replies before collapsing. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura shouted. Children, your sensei is awake. A woman screamed when Kakashi opened his eyes. The genin opened the door and entered. Everyone except Naruto, who was nowhere to be found. Soon after, Tazuna followed them. "Where is Naruto?" "He left as soon as we arrived. He says he's going to train, and he won't be back for another week." "Oh yeah. Well, there's something I need to discuss with all of you," Kakashi replies. Location unknown. Naruto paused, observing his surroundings. He knew that a building was supported by wires in front of it. He also perceived the chakra of Zabuza and the ninja hunters inside the building. He entered calmly. Surprisingly, there were no guards. Cat was a real idiot, full of ignorance and selfishness. Naruto headed towards Zabuza's chakra signature. As he got close enough, he heard someone yelling at Zabuza. Naruto thought he was a cat. Not only did the demon brothers fail, but so did you. "Do you call yourself the Fog Demon? How can he be a demon if you were defeated so easily? Now the old bridge builder will have the time he needs to finish his bridge. If you can't, and there is my arm." Cat screams as the ninja hunter starts to crush his arm. The two cat guards drew their swords only to see another shinobi appear next to them, with the swords at their throats. "I think it will be best to leave," Naruto replies calmly, but with a lethal tone. The guards started sweating, incredulous that someone could move so fast in a second. Gato started running as soon as the ninja hunter let go of his arm. The guards ran out. Cat immediately followed them. Naruto arched an eyebrow as the ninja hunter adopted a defensive posture. "Aku, don't worry. You don't have to do anything. Zabuza-san." Zabuza turned his head to Naruto. "How did you find me, brat?" "Simple, I followed the signature of your chakra." "Chakra signature? We all have a chakra signature. No chakra signature is the same as another. During your fight, I was studying you, and I saw your chakra signature. When you died, your chakra signature didn't disappear. So I knew you were alive. Shortly after my team arrived at our client's house, I went out to track you down. Do they know I'm alive?" I guess Kakashi-sensei would tell everyone about it after he tied up the ends. It's true, Kakashi will soon find out. However, I wish to learn more about your clan. I'm not surprised, brat. Well, it wasn't really a clan. There were only 5 of us. Your mother was very young. His father insisted that he flee immediately, in case the family became extinct. She was the youngest in the family. Just a chinin, but very skilled, like many junin. When she was 4 years old, she became my sensei and tutor. I admired her. She was so brave and fearless. She was more of a tomboy, if you ask me. Redhead with an incomparable beauty. She was a fearless shinobi. When he ran away, he told me not to think I was so important. I wish I could hear his voice one more time. Zabuza-san. Aku asked, not knowing what to say. Zabuza joined with great difficulty. The Uzumaki do not possess Kik and Genka and no special abilities. Only these 2 things. A high chakra level and a high IQ, Zabuza replied, before letting out a giggle. I guess I can finally pay off my debt to your mom. It makes sense, she was the only survivor of the Uzumaki massacre. All right, I'll train you the same way she trained me. Naruto didn't say anything or show any emotion. In the end, he got more than he intended. Water's edge. Okay, kid, the first thing I'm going to make you practice is taijutsu. I will also teach you kenjutsu. Depending on how you do it, I'll teach you ninjutsu and some genjutsu. Naruto didn't say anything, but adopted a defensive posture. Aku did the same, and they both jumped forward, throwing each other a first punch. Both caught the other's first hit. Naruto studied his opponent and realized that he was going to have a lot of fun. A week later, Naruto put everything he had in his scrolls and fastened them to his belt. Zabuza, fully recovered, was there, ready to face Kakashi once more. Naruto, come here, Zabuza replied as she pulled out 3 large scrolls. These scrolls contain all my knowledge. One is about ninjutsu, mainly water jutsu, some wind, earth and lightning. I never bothered to learn fire jutsus. The second scroll contains forms and styles of kenjutsu. The third, about genjutsu and taijutsu. If you really want to become the best ninja in the world, You must learn everything you can. Strive to become an unparalleled opportunity. I guess you'll join your team at the bridge. Of course. I don't like them, but I will always fight for the Leaf Village. I will go ahead with the Will of Fire. Zabuza was curious about that fiery will for more than a week. Naruto talked about her with passion and respect. It was obvious that it was not about location. However, he never asked what it was. Very well. This is the last time we separate as teacher and student. The next time we meet, we'll be enemies. Remember what I told you. And remember to be careful. Toma replied Zabuza, while Naruto was holding the scrolls to his left leg. Note: the scrolls are half the size of Kankuro's scroll for his puppets. Zabuza took out another scroll, much smaller and shorter than the previous three. This sword belongs to your mother. Before he left, he gave it to me in the hope that I would wield it with honor when the fog lifted proudly again. However, my attempt to free the fog failed. I hope that your will to fire will give you the strength to wield this sword. Thanks, but I'd rather not see either of us die. Nor to anyone else. But this is the way to become a shinobi. I'll see you there, Naruto replied. He disappeared before Zabuza could say anything. That boy will become powerful. Maybe he will become the strongest in the world. He has very strange powers, Zabuza replies. It's almost like being close to him, and feeling that everything is going to be okay, Aku nodded. Actually, I'd rather not have to fight him. However, my debt is settled. Therefore, we can finish this mission, and take down that greedy little pig, Zabuza replied calmly, heading towards the bridge. Aku followed soon after. Naruto stopped in his tracks, and glared at the two samurai who were dragging Tsunami. She had told him her name before he left. And Nari was lying on the floor, crying. Naruto didn't know his name. Naruto jumped up and threw a shuriken at the samurai's head. The samurai's companion became agitated before a kunai shot him in the throat. Naruto jumped again. Naruto-sama. When did you do it? Tsunami asked, surprised. I came to drop off my things and meet with my team, Naruto replied calmly. I'm afraid your team not long ago and went to the bridge with Dad. I guess I should go there then. And Nari must have come to her senses now that the danger has passed. What are you trying for? Cat is going to kill you, he shouted towards Naruto. Naruto untied his sword from his staff and pointed it at Inari. Who the hell do you think you are to talk to me like that? Naruto snarled. It doesn't matter, you're going to die if you confront Gato, Inari shouted. Naruto disappeared before Inari's eyes. He heard Naruto landing behind him. Before Inari could say anything, he felt a deep wound on his shoulder. If you think that, coward, then die, Naruto replied calmly. Wait, Naruto-sama. That's my son. Please forgive your actions. Tsunami shouted. Remember, Inari. If you run away, you will die. If you fight, you will die. However, the way you die will depend on how you live. If you fight, protect those around you. He dies to protect them. If you run away, you're no better than Cat, a fucking coward who watches his loved ones die, Naruto replied before disappearing. And Nari fell to the ground crying. His mother came up and confronted him. Although angry, she agreed with Naruto. According to Kakashi, Naruto follows a strict code and deeply dislikes people who do not respect it. Naruto was jumping from tree to tree and running towards the bridge. He knew that Zabuza would attack his team soon, probably right then and there. He didn't care if Sakura died. Of course, Zabuza wouldn't care if she lived or died either, as she was too weak and pathetic to even be a shinobi. Naruto landed near the bridge to see what was going on. Zabuza was clearly using the Kirigakure no Jutsu, preventing Kakashi and the others from seeing what was happening. Sakura was in front of Tazuna, holding a kunai, but her knees were shaking terribly. I was scared to death. Naruto wouldn't be surprised if he peed on himself soon. Sasuke was fighting Aku, who was using a jutsu that Naruto had never seen or heard of. Aku had never used that jutsu during his training sessions. Kakashi was looking around, trying to locate Zabuza with his Sharingan. Zabuza created a water clone and had it attack Kakashi with shurikens. Naruto knew that Kakashi was capable of deflecting them, so he was not surprised when Kakashi deflected them. Naruto, however, lost interest in the battle between Kakashi and Zabuza. He began to observe Sasuke's fight. The stubborn Uchiha was defending himself quite well, using his chakra to increase his speed. However, Naruto knew that Sasuke would soon reach his limit. "Man, I can't believe I'm gonna save that guy's ass," Naruto grumbled, taking a leap forward. Naruto punched Sasuke in the neck before he realized what had happened to him. "Naruto-kun was hoping you'd show up earlier," Aku replied in a calm voice. "I returned to Tezuna's house and ran into Gato's henchmen. I took care of them," Naruto replied in a calm voice. "I see, well, Zabuza's debt has been paid off, however, I won't hold back with you," Aku replied, taking out needles and bone. Naruto took off the ninja band, exposing his eyes. Aku knew he was blind. However, what I didn't expect was to see completely white eyes. No pupils or irises were visible. They were as if they had been torn off, like Raiden's eyes in Mortal Kombat. "Come on, Aku!" Naruto shouted, jumping forward. Aku smiled. Apparently, Naruto underestimated his lineage. He moved faster than Naruto, punched him in the jaw, and jumped back, reflected in the mirror. However, Aku was surprised when Naruto disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Kujeban-sen. I'm going to tell you a secret. The Kujeban-sen has a secret ability. Everything you learn is awarded to the user after dissipating. Now that I see your secret, I'm ready to face you, Naruto replies, standing in the middle of the ice mirrors. Aku was surprised. I didn't know that. In this case, Naruto had the advantage, because he knew that Naruto could create up to 1,000 shadow clones without getting disheveled. Taju Kujeban without no jutsu. Naruto cried when hundreds of Naruto appeared. Aku jumped out of his mirror when he realized that, with such a power, Naruto would destroy his mirrors. He jumped to the other end of the area, destroying as many as he could. Aku jumped out of his mirror again, and this time he destroyed even more. However, Naruto seemed completely oblivious to what was happening. So confused was Aku, he approached another clone again, only for it to explode in front of him. Aku shot out at his mirror, crashing into it and shattering it. Kakashi and Zabuza turned their attention to the explosion. They were both curious to know who had caused it. Zabuza knew it wasn't Aku, so he assumed it was the Uchiha brat. However, the Uchiha did not know anything that could have caused a loud explosion that echoed throughout the bridge. Kakashi was also in shock. He knew that Sasuke and Sakura had no idea how to cause such a loud explosion. I didn't know anything about Naruto. It was a great mystery. Or would another ninja have appeared and taken over? Aku stood up just in time to see Naruto's fist hit his face. How? Aku asked, struggling to get up. I have never shown Dai my true capabilities. It is true that I lost my sight. However, I came up with another method. I practically see them all in grayscale. Also, I can see the chakra. I have known the operation of your jutsus for a long time. And if my first plan failed, I still had 3 more just in case. My eyes can see the chakra. Nothing escapes his sight. I planned everything so that I could help Kakashi defeat Zabuza. Of course, I'm not ready to reveal my abilities to my team yet, Naruto replied in a calm voice, lowering his ninja sash. Naruto looked over to where Kakashi and Zabuza were. Zabuza was trapped by some dogs and Kakashi had a strange lightning jutsu in his hands. Before Naruto could react, Aku disappeared with a Shunsin, appearing in front of Zabuza and receiving the blow to the heart. Naruto watched as Zabuza tried to pass through Aku and Kakashi at the same time. Kakashi got Aku to safety. Naruto threw several shurikens that hit Zabuza's plates, preventing her from using her arms. Naruto quickly appeared in front of Kakashi brandishing his sword. Yes, Naruto drew his sword. Not bad, boy, you've improved more than I thought. Your mother would be proud, Zabuza replied, kneeling down from the intense pain. The battle was clearly taking its toll on him. I never get the chance to fight to the fullest of my potential. Maybe I can give back to my family his legendary name all over the world, Naruto replied calmly. Zabuza let out a giggle. Boy, you can make an even bigger name for yourself than any other Uzumaki. Remember, a shinobi is an instrument of death. No more and no less replied Zabuza. Naruto didn't say anything. I knew it was true. So Naruto remained silent. Before anyone could say anything, everyone heard applause. As they turned back to their origin, they saw Gato standing there with a small army of thugs. This is the result of the fog demon. Rather, the baby of the mist, cried Kat as the thugs burst out incarcerated. Gato advanced towards Aku. Ah yes, I forgot, I owe it to this one for crushing my arm to breaking it, Gato replied, while he kicked Aku several times in the face. Are you not going to do anything? Naruto asked Zabuza. No, you see, this is the life of a shinobi. I used Aku the same way Gato used me. I don't feel anything for him. Aren't you a little intrigued by that wall of fire that we ninjas of Konoha are talking about? Naruto asked Zabuza. Zabuza looked at his favorite student. The third Kage, like the previous four Hokage, wanted to change the mentality of the shinobi. This will to fire is not about fighting as if they were weapons. We fight to protect and defend our dreams and ideals, our families and friends. We share a bond that we seek to protect, not as tools, but as human beings. It was a dream to create a golden age for the shinobi, Naruto replied. Naruto, don't tell these things to Zabuza. He wouldn't understand, and Kakashi replied, but Zabuza interrupted him with tears in her eyes. I think I finally get it. My dream was also to break with those ties of the past. My dream was to create the hidden village of the mist so that we could support each other. I just didn't understand it until now. Boy, you might be right. We may be tools like shinobi, but we are also human beings capable of feeling emotions. Thank you, replied Zabuza. He tried to move his arms, but he couldn't. Kid, let me get a kune. Naruto didn't say anything, he just threw the kune into the air. Zabuza tore off the mask with his mouth and caught it with his teeth. He launched into the attack. Gato, seeing the danger posed by angering the fog demon, ran after the thugs, ordering them to kill Zabuza. However, Zabuza easily dodged the thugs and went through them as if they were standing still. Gato panicked and was paralyzed when Zabuza's crib and went through his neck. Zabuza kicked Gato in the throat, throwing him into the void from the bridge. Zabuza fought to get back together with Aku, to die next to his friend and brother. They had been through so much together. Aku deserved much more. However, no matter how difficult things seemed, Aku had always been by her side. But he collapsed before he could reach it. Naruto and Kakashi bowed their heads in respect. Zabuza died a true blade ninja, even if he had never been one. Hey, you assholes. They just ruined our source of income. Now we are going to plunder this island and take all the loot we want, a thug shouted, clearly acting as the leader. Yes. All the thugs behind him shouted. Before anyone could react, an arrow was fired, which hit in front of the thugs. If any of you dare to take a single step towards our island, the people of Wake will kill anyone who enters our lands, an old man shouted. And Nari was standing there with a crossbow. How about I kill them myself? Naruto responds, lunging forward and creating several shadow clones. The thugs could barely follow his movements. A minute later, Naruto pierced the throat of the last bully, killing him instantly. So young, and he is already capable of killing without remorse. Okage-sama, what is he? The Bunshin dissipate, and Naruto passes by Sakura, who threw herself on his Sasuke-kun. The moment the fight between Zabuza and Kakashi ended. A day later, the Wave Hill. Naruto and the rest of Team 7 were on the hill where Zabuza and Aku's graves were. Kakashi-sensei, can a shinobi's life ever change? Naruto asks. Do you regret your murders? Kakashi asked. Sakura and Sasuke recoiled when they heard that Naruto had killed several people. No, they deserve to die. No matter what. Bullies like those who attack the weak don't deserve to live. That's my opinion. However, is killing the only life for a shinobi? In our current world, yes. We kill to survive. It's part of being a shinobi. I wish we could eliminate death from our lives. We could live for something else, Naruto replies as it starts to rain. Konoha. The third Kage looked at the document in front of him before looking at the three Hounen in front of him. The exams have started, Chinen replied in a grave voice. The three Junins disappeared instantly. Chapter 4. Problems of Chunin Exams. Team 7 was at its usual bridge. The only absentee was Kakashi, for whom the team began to wait impertinently. After the wave mission, the three genie came to an agreement. Sakura and Sasuke would stop belittling and being rude to Naruto, and Naruto would stop hurting and insulting them. While this solved their problem, the atmosphere between the three of them became much calmer. However, that didn't stop Sakura from continuing to annoy Sasuke for the rest of his life. Naruto seemed to wish he was somewhere else. Kakashi was very late. His frustration began to manifest itself, revealing his murderous rage. Sakura stopped talking as she felt Naruto's anger growing. Sasuke also seemed worried. Both genin began to move away from Naruto, aware that he needed to release his anger and that he might start killing. Sakura and Sasuke were about to run to get away from the angry blonde when a cloud of smoke appeared announcing Kakashi's arrival. Sorry for being late, but I saw a fish drowning in a pond, so I rushed to get there. Liar! Sakura shouted. Kakashi only replied by sketching a smile with his left eye. However, Naruto didn't seem to have improved his mood. Why are you so late? Naruto asked in a cold but demanding voice. Well, the truth is I was busy nominating the three of you for the Chunin exams, Kakashi replied. The Chunin exams? Sakura asked. Naruto didn't let his bloodlust subside. In fact, it began to increase to a dangerous level. Pure heat waves could be seen all around him. Now let me explain, Kakashi began in a hurried voice. Clearly, something had upset Naruto that morning. Flashback scene. Well, everyone who will be participating in this event is finally here. Now, let's start with the Chunin entrance exam, the third Kage declared in a gravelly voice. Everyone started to mumble. Excitement filled the room. The Sandai smiled at me. Maybe this year would be very interesting. Enough, to begin with, let's talk about the novice Jounin instructors. I, Take Kakashi, leader of Team 7, nominate Uchiha Sasuke, Aruno Sakura, and Uzumaki Naruto. For the upcoming Chunin exams, I, Yui Kulanai, leader of Team 8, nominate Yuga and Nada, and Nuzuka Kiba and Aburama Shino for the upcoming Chunin exams. And I, Saborito Asuma, leader of Team 10, nominate Narashikamaru, Akimichi Choji, and Yamanaka Ino. For the upcoming Chunin exams, chaos soon engulfed the room. The 9 rookies competing in the Chunin exams hadn't happened for 5 years. The Chunin exams were known to be tough and dangerous. Wait a minute. Okage-sama, you can't allow these genin to participate in the Chunin exams, Iruka shouted. What do you mean, Iruka? The Sandaime asked politely, although everyone knew that it was a demand. Okage-sama, those 9 students were my students at the academy. I agree that each of them has great potential. However, this test will destroy them. They're not ready. It's too early, Iruka replied calmly. Many agreed with Iruka. It was evident that the genin fresh out of the academy were not prepared to participate in the Chunin exams. Iruka, you have to let me go, Kakashi replies with a bored tone. Karena and Asuma didn't seem happy. Are you planning to destroy them? Iruka shouted. Well, they complain a lot about shitty missions. Maybe this will scare them enough to stop arguing and bring out their potential. And yet you're willing to put their lives in danger for that. I became a Chunin at the age of 6. That really marked me, Kakashi replies. Naruto is not like you. Are you trying to destroy them physically and mentally? Iruka shouted, stepping forward to face Kakashi. Kakashi, that's enough, Karena replies, and looking at Kakashi. No, Karena isn't, Iruka needs to hear this. He just doesn't get it. While I appreciate you maintaining ties with your former students, remember, Iruka, they are not your students anymore. They are my soldiers, Kakashi replies in a firm voice. Iruka was about to reply when the third one got ahead of him. Iruka, the decision of whether your Genin team is ready rests with Instructor Hounen. Okage-sama, and shouted Iruka in protest. However, I also understand that Iruka is right. Despite their potential, this exam could wipe them out, and they would never be the same again. Therefore, I will allow a pre-examination test of Chinin. Oksama, and shouted Iruka. He stopped when the third one shot him a withering look. Kakashi turned around, but someone called him. I don't know your plans, eternal rival. I, on the other hand, waited a whole year for my team to acquire the necessary experience. I have to agree with Iruka. They're not ready. What's the matter, Gay? Are you afraid that my team is better than yours? Kakashi scoffed. Gay looked surprised, and shouted that he accepted her challenge. Kakashi, however, began to worry. He felt that his team was ready, but he feared that they would never be the same again. End of the flashback. Here are your papers. On Friday, report to exam room 302. Don't be surprised if you see ninjas from other villages around here. Kakashi waves and disappears. Naruto leaves, clearly showing that he is not interested in the opinion of his classmates about the Chunin exam. Sakura pushed her thoughts away from Naruto and turned to Sasuke only to see him disappear. And now what am I going to do? Sakura shouted. He paused, and then an idea occurred to him. His favorite hobby was still an option, hunting Sasuke. Sakura got up and ran out in search of her beloved. He walked through the alleys, especially since Sasuke rarely walked through the main streets. In one area, he bumped into a brown-haired boy. Watch where you're going, brat. Sakura snarled. Shut up, Zercintex. The boy shouted. Sakura's eyes twitched dangerously at the sound of her nickname. Konohamaru, we should go. It's scary, replied a four-eyed boy the same age as Konohamaru. A girl her age also looked scared. Okay, new ninja tactic. Run. Konohamaru shouted. The three students of the academy ran in fear, while Akura chased them at full speed, destroying everything in its path. Konohamaru ran forward, visibly scared, and unwilling to face the wrath of the pink-haired genin. However, he collided with someone wearing a black jumpsuit. Oh, brat, you bumped into me. Does that mean you want to fight? The boy answers. He picks up Konohamaru and stares him straight in the eyes. Oh, Kankuro, let him go. You're gonna get us in trouble, answered a blonde girl with 4 pigtails. Temari, I'm just going to teach this brat some respect, that's all. I can do it before he arrives. Do something. With Omaruba and the 2 children, they turned to Sakura. Yes and yes. Let him go right now, Sakura orders. Kankuro looks at her furiously, and she backs away, interposing the 2 children as shields. Kankuro raised his fist, but a stone hit his head. Kankuro glared at the boy before putting him down. He removed the bandages from his shoulders and prepared to use an unknown weapon against Sasuke. Sakura felt some fear, but also excitement at the thought that her Sasuke-kun was going to beat the crap out of her and prove how cool he was. Kankuro, stop it, a voice near Sasuke replied. Sasuke opened his eyes and turned towards the voice. There was another genin with a front protector, Suna, and a bodyguard on his back. Gaara, they were the ones who started. Shut up or I'll kill you. Gaara snapped in an expressionless voice. Sure, and I'm sorry, Gaara replies, Kankuro backing up and waving his hands in the air. Sakura walked away from the red-haired genin. It reminded them a lot of Naruto. They knew I wasn't joking. It was obvious that he had problems with his own teammates. Come on, orders Gaara as she teleports to her companions. She waits and Sakura replies, catching her breath. He didn't like her eyes. They had a thirst for blood and a desire to kill. Judging by your ninja bands, you must be Suna ninjas. Even if Suna and Konoha are allies, you need a pass to be here? Sakura demanded. You really don't have a brain, do you, Aruno? They are here for the exams, Chinan, a voice answers on the other side. The 8 ninjas, Suna, Sasuke, Sakura and Konohamaru's body, look towards a branch and see Naruto standing there. Naruto suddenly disappears and appears in front of his team. Your name? Naruto asked calmly from Gahara. Sabuku no Gahara. Uzumaki Naruto. See you at the exams, Chinan, Naruto replied, taking his team with him. Sakura and Sasuke followed him. They didn't know who was scarier, Gaara or Naruto. Gaara said nothing, but led his team in the opposite direction. Friday. Room 302. Naruto and his team entered the room for the Chinan exams. They walked forward and leaned against the wall, clearly not wanting to be disturbed. Sasuke, for his part, was afraid that his fan club would be there. Naruto didn't want anyone to talk to him. Sakura wanted her Sasuke-kun to ask her out. Sasuke-kun, I've missed you so much. A voice shouted. Yamanaka and did not make his triumphal entrance by jumping happily on Sasuke as if she were his girlfriend. Let go of me and don't so. Sakura shouted. Naruto wondered if he would ever learn to shut up. Although, on second thought, he would be surprised if he learned to use his head. Keep your voice down, Shikamaru replies as he advances with Chuji, who, unsurprisingly, had a bag of chips open and was hitting them hard. Naruto looks around furiously. Idiots will always be idiots. Oh, it looks like the 9 newbies are together again. I heard all our sensei nominated us. They must hold us in high esteem, Shikamaru replies. Oh, they just want to show off. Kiba replied, guiding his team forward. And he wasn't hugging Sasuke tightly. Sasuke was trying to get away from her. Naruto, however, was feeling tense. Of all the genin in the room, only 2 caught his eye, you know what I mean. The first, of course, was Sabuku no Gahara. His chakra, however, was strange. So Naruto went to another boy's chakra. It was huge, almost as big as Kakashi's. You all want to keep your voice down. You're getting a lot of attention, a silver-haired boy replies. Who are you? Sakura whispered loudly. I'm Yakuza Kabuto. And if I were all of you, I'd keep my voice down. They're making quite a fuss. They look around and see that almost everyone is looking at them with the intention of killing them. You remind me of the first time I took the exams, Chunin answered the Kabuto with a smile. So this is the second time you are taking the exams, Kabuto-kun? Hino asked politely. No. It's my 7th, Kabuto replied with a nervous giggle, scratching his head in embarrassment. That's how bad these exams are, Sakura replied in a calm tone. Well, they say that 7 is a lucky number. So I hope to pass this time. Naruto, however, was curious. It was obvious that he was powerful, one of the most powerful in the room. Still, I couldn't pass the exams. Something was very wrong. How about if you give me some information? I've been collecting information for the Chunin exams. Can you get someone to take the Chunin exams? Shikamaru asked. Sure, who are you interested in? Yuganei, Rogel, Sabaku no Gaara, and Uzumaki Naruto. Sasuke asked before anyone else could. Mom, this is not fun, knowing their names makes it all too easy. All right, first Yuganei replies Kabuto as he takes out his ninja cards. He's not a bad shinobi. He will definitely be a tough opponent this year. Next, Rogel. His companions are Yuganei and Tenten. Also a year older. Like his team, he was the first to sit for the exams, like all of you. Now, Sabaku don't Gahara. Interesting, he did a B-rank mission and came back, and that's Kabuto answers, assimilating the information. Everyone seemed surprised to hear that a genin had completed a B-rank mission and had come out unscathed. Everyone was wondering who he was. Next, Uzumaki Naruto. He's your teammate. Blind, unable to see since the age of 4 due to an accident. Genjutsu and Taijutsu. 0. Written exam. 0. Ninjutsu, well, just an approved scraping. I don't know how he became a shinobi. His statistics are very low. What about the ninja village? Hino asked. There are many hidden villages. However, only a few come to Konoha for the Chunin exams. Iwa is ruled out. They hold a big grudge against Konoha and are still recovering from the last war. Kumo too. We have been at war with Kumo, and they did not send Genin due to the constant political disputes. Kiri didn't send Genin either because of his endless civil war. So basically, we have the Rain Village, the Grass Village, the Waterfall Village, Suna, and this new village. The Village of Sound. And how about the Village of Sound? Are they good? Sakura asks. No, they are a new people, and most likely do not pose a threat. Before anyone could react, 3 figures pounced on the small group, passing by everyone. Kabuto seemed to notice this. He turned around and deflected the senbon. The man dressed in thick clothes and bandages attacked Kabuto, grazing his face. Kabuto jumped back after the last attack with a smile and adopted a defensive posture. The 3 genin, apparently from the Village of Sound, stop and look at Kabuto. Before anyone could say anything, Kabuto's glasses broke. Ah, I see. So that's the kind of attack you used, Kabuto replied, taking off his glasses. Actually, and no, I used that kind of attack, the boy replied calmly. Kabuto became paralyzed and fell to the ground, almost as if he was sick. Before the newbies could react, Kabuto spat out blood. Wait, how is that possible? That blow didn't even hit me. I saw everything, Sasuke asked with an awkward tone. Was that a dog whistle? Naruto asked, rubbing his ears. Everyone turned to look at him. To his surprise, blood was coming out of him. Naruto, and what happened? Sakura asked in shock. I swear it was a dog whistle. Only much sharper and more intense. Damn, my ears hurt. Naruto complained as he tried to stop the bleeding. The sound team seemed somewhat surprised, unable to react to the comment. His observation was almost correct. What's wrong with Naruto? Hino asked. That's right. Naruto has sensitive ears, and Sakura then told them Naruto's little secret. Flashback scene. Hey, Naruto. What? Naruto barked at Sakura. 2 days after his return, the Mist and Sakura approached him before Kakashi arrived. Sasuke remained standing there with a somewhat annoyed expression. How do you orient yourself if you can't see? This question made Sasuke look at the blonde with interest. It had never occurred to him. Instincts, Naruto replied after a few moments of silence. What do you mean by instincts? Sakura asked. That wasn't the answer I was expecting. Like I said, it's instincts. It is common for human senses to become acute when losing one. A blind mind can easily acquire a new skill to survive. In my case, I mainly use 2 things, my ears and my nose. My ears are 100 times more sensitive than yours or anyone else's. In addition, I use my nose to perceive my surroundings. It also helps me to know who is close and who is who. That's how I can tell you 2 apart. Sakura, you always wear cherry perfume. Sasuke always washes his clothes once a week. And Kakashi, well, I'm not sure you want to know, Naruto replies in a calm voice. Sakura seemed amazed at this information. She was about to leave Naruto alone when he spoke again. Sakura, sometimes you see the world differently. When you can no longer see. My nose and my ears are my eyes now. If I lose them, I might lose everything that's left of me, Naruto replied in a calm voice. End of the flashback. They were surprised to learn that Naruto had sensitive ears. To confirm it, everyone looked at Kiba. Akamaru growled and barked, and Kiba spoke. Naruto is right. It was kind of like a dog whistle. Akamaru told me, Kiba replied calmly. What does that mean? Sasuke asked. Most likely it's a sound wave that emits the sound of a dog whistle, Sakura replied as if immersed in deep thoughts. Naruto wanted to smile. For once, the pink-haired girl had used her head. It was very close to the truth. Naruto sneered at the sound ninjas. They did not seem very happy that they had discovered the attack in a matter of seconds. All right, everybody calm down. A powerful voice roared from the front of the room. When the smoke cleared, there was a Junin along with some Chinin. "I'm sorry I kept you waiting. I'm Morino and Vicky," his first protective examiner replied, the man who was wearing a black trench coat. "It looks like they are ninjas, no fighting without permission. Even with permission, they cannot kill their opponents. Well, everyone has a bottom number. Take a seat and get started. Now, they will be given a written test and..." Naruto stopped paying attention to Ibiki and started to fall asleep for the exam. I could have easily understood his intentions. However, he preferred to be more relaxed. After an hour, Ibiki suspended all the cowards who did not want to continue. The survivors are now facing a bloodthirsty Anko. Anko seemed very pleased with all the genie. He even said he was going to have fun with them. She simply told them to follow her and lead her to a sealed area. "Well, welcome to the Forest of Death," Anko replied. However, all the genin realized that he was actually enjoying it. "Now I need everyone to sign this," Anko replied, showing the papers. "What are those things?" A guy in a black jumpsuit asks. "There will be deaths in this exam. These papers say they don't care about killing or dying. Besides, I hate paperwork. Especially when it comes to deaths for which I am responsible. When everyone is finished, hand them over to the booth and pick up a scroll. Your goal is to get 2 scrolls and take them to the tower. Here you are." Anko held up 2 scrolls. "The scroll of heaven and earth. Now, let's get started." Anko screamed, smiling like a bloodthirsty idiot. Moments later, Team 7 came out of the store with a heavenly scroll. They went to Gate 14 and waited for the exam to start. Anko was watching the blonde genin with interest. He was said to be helpless and unable to fight. However, I suspected that was what I wanted people to think. And Vicky, head of integration of the N division, had also submitted several reports convinced that the boy was hiding more than he was showing. I remember from 6 years ago. "What? Do you want us to keep an eye on the blind child?" Anko shouted to the Okage. Several members of Ambu were also there, curious to know what it was about. They knew it wasn't to protect the child, so everyone wanted to know the reason. Something's not right with him. He may look helpless. However, every time he comes to see me or I to him, his chakra is bigger than normal. Also, I have noticed that it disappears for quite some time. Even I can't find him. I want to know what he does during those periods. Find out. "Yes," shouted the team. 6 weeks later. 4 weeks, the Ambu teams had been watching Naruto closely. However, most of the time, he was seen sitting on the swing, with an expression of deep sadness, or watching as civilians beat him to the ground. They were ashamed to have to witness how the boy endured such punishment on a daily basis. However, they had not found any information about his training, other than the academy's basic training. They all agreed on something. It was as if the boy could see them. Each one had felt the gaze of someone watching them. In the end, the Okage cancelled the investigation. However, everyone in Ambu now felt that the blonde was more than he appeared. End of the flashback. Anko knew that it was no secret that everyone in Ambu felt somewhat uncomfortable around the blind boy. Even Kakashi Attack reported that Naruto's chakra was greater than the one he emitted. Several people tried to spy on him, but no one was able to get the information they needed. Anko sighed. He wanted with all his might to know her secret. He was consuming her. I was hoping that this test would help the Zambu to find out. "All right, let's get started," Anko shouted as the doors slammed open. Team 7. The door slammed open and Naruto. However, he had barely advanced a few meters through the forest when he asked for them to stop. "Sasuke, use your Sharingan and find us a safe place to talk." Sasuke obeyed and looked around with his Sharingan. Soon he found a large bush that could hide from anyone. Listen carefully. This exam is not what it seems. To begin with, they are all our enemies. We have no allies on this battlefield. Even our fellow Leaf Ninjas aren't allies. And you, the newbies, what can you tell me about them? Naruto asked his friends. Everyone looked at him confused. Naruto sighed. I had a tremendous desire to beat them up. First, Team 10. An information-gathering squad. They collect information and use it to their advantage. Shikamaru and do not collect information. And it's his support. He is the mainstay, while the two of them are the brains. So his team is pretty well balanced. Then there's Team 8, our worst kind of opponent. An Ikaga, an Inuzuka, and an Aburame. Each of them is known for their ability to track and explore, which also makes them a survival team. I know it's almost impossible to sneak up on an Inuzuka, but no one here ignores it. That information is vital to us. The same goes for an Ikaga. With their Yakugan, they can't be surprised, and they can see through the Genju. And the traps, as well as having a 360-degree view. Not to mention that they can see at night as if it were day. A Baram can be complicated. With his skill, he can know that we are approaching and defeat us in a matter of seconds. Also, let's stay away from the Ikaga. Neji's team. As combat specialists, they are also not a team we want to go up against. Also, let me see the scroll, Naruto asked as Asuke took out the scroll. Then, Naruto took out 5 scrolls of his own. These are fake scrolls. Of heaven and earth. While you two were at the door, I was creating them. Take one of each. I marked the sides so you can tell the difference. If you find yourself in a difficult situation, use these scrolls and escape immediately. It is not known what kind of dangers await them. Also, I will give our team a small advantage in this exam. Kirigakure no